Alright, what's going on, guys? This is Benjamin Bakcho here, bringing you an F122 video. Today we're going to be looking at the weekly event that is at Azerbaijan. You're playing as Pierre Gasly, looking to get up to P3. This one's pretty easy, actually, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. The only cars in front of you that you really need to overtake are Sainz and Leclerc in both Ferraris. You're starting on the hards. I think your tires are at about like 16-17%, so they're not exactly brand new. And this is just using a time trial setup. I think this is just the 5.2 wings setup that is the world record, but I just upped the wings to 12.8 just because in a little while, as you will see, it actually starts raining. So it's nice to have the straight line speed while it's dry, but once it starts raining, you do want to have a little bit of downforce. So I upped the wings to 12.8, and that actually helps us in the dry, but or in the wet. But even with 12.8 wings, it shouldn't be too difficult to overtake the Ferraris anyways. You can see I'm not exactly the best at this. This is at 105 AI difficulty right now. Haven't played this game in a few weeks. I think I've hopped on to do like qualifying for last week's weekly event and the week before that, the Singapore one. But I didn't actually even do the races. I just did the qualifying, the practice and qualifying. So haven't really played this game much at all, but I noticed that there was a patch for this game this week, patch 1.12, with some fixes and some extra stuff, the McLaren livery, and I think you're getting Mika Hakkinen in the as one of the legacy drivers. So that's pretty cool. I decided to check this out, and one of the weekly event this week was actually a featured event. I'm not sure if this is the same one that we had a little while ago. I could have sworn there was another one where you were maybe it was a Yuki. It was Yuki in the AlphaTauri at Baku, but I don't think it rained last time, so this is a little bit different. I mean, you're in an AlphaTauri, you're playing at Azerbaijan, so I thought it was the same one. I can't remember, but yeah, it doesn't even take us too long. Second lap, I think you start on lap 43, and on lap 44, we've already caught up to Sainz here. Not super difficult to catch up to these guys, and if you can't catch up to them when it's dry, don't worry, because once it starts, right before it starts raining, these two guys actually both start having car issues, and then they start getting really slow. What you have to watch out for is Hamilton in P7 right now, as once it starts raining, Hamilton starts gaining a lot of speed, or at least for me anyway. So the featured events are a little bit more dynamic this year. They're not the same old scripted races that you know from F1 2021. So don't expect to go in and be able to play the same as Joe squeezes us into that corner there. But we make it out without any issue. Now we're within DRS of Sainz, so this should be an easy overtake, even with 12.8 wings. But what was I saying? Yeah, don't expect this to be the same scripted stuff that you saw in F1 2021, where it was literally the same lap times almost, the same scripted events. Every certain lap, a car would come up behind you. The featured events are a little bit more dynamic this year, which is actually kind of fun and a little bit of a pain in the ass, as you saw. Sometimes I could catch up to and pass Sainz before we caught up to any back markers, but this one right here, you can see we actually caught up to Joe, who almost caused a collision, and then I think that's Magnus in there, right? Who actually does cause a collision with Sainz. So yeah, there's positives and negatives about the dynamic featured events this year, but it's still okay, I think. And as with every other featured events, the difficulty is kind of really wonky. They're either really easy or really difficult. I think this one was pretty easy. Like I said, I haven't played seriously for maybe about 3 weeks now, and I jumped onto this, put it at 105, and I was able to beat it right away. Today was the first night that I tried it, and although it did take me a while to kind of get used to the AlphaTauri on the hard compound tires, I figured it out. And even though you are on the hard tires, don't feel like you need to up the tire pressures on the car, because even though I'm on minimal tire pressures in the front tires, I think the temperatures were still at about like hovering at around the high 80s and low 90s, and I thought maybe I'll up the tire pressures to make the tire temperatures a little bit in the working range, which is usually around 95 to 100. But when I did that, I put the I think I upped the tire pressures by like 6 clicks, and we were still managing to stay under 100 degrees Celsius. But it seemed like the car kept locking up constantly with the higher tire pressures. So even though you're on the higher compound tires and the tire temps are a little bit low, I would recommend keeping the tire pressures low, just because it makes taking corners a little bit easier, at least for me anyway. I don't know why, but every time I upped the front tire pressures, the car just kept locking up, and I just could not get around the track. Couldn't even finish like 1 or 2 laps without locking up or understeering into a wall. So I just decided to leave the front tire pressures at minimum, and I think the rear tire pressures are about halfway, and then it's just the world record setup, but instead of 5.2 wings, it's 12.8 to kind of compensate for the wet part of this featured event. So as you can see right now, lap 46, rain is starting to come down. Usually by this point I was ahead of Leclerc. I ran this about 10 times or so, but once it started raining, it kind of screwed me up. But yeah, this is one of the rare times where I actually could not get past Leclerc before it rained. But like I said, both Ferraris run into car issues anyway, so it's not really going to matter. 5 laps left to go, 6 laps left to go, including this one. And now we're catching up to some back markers here. DRS actually stays enabled for quite a while. I think DRS doesn't get disabled until about lap 49 or lap 50, even though, as you can see, the rain is starting to come down now. And we get DRS here from Stroll, which is nice. Catch right back up to Leclerc, and yeah, you have to be a little bit careful here, because even though the track is slippery and you probably could go onto inters, DRS is still enabled, as I almost go into the back of Leclerc there, but we managed to get it slowed down in time. Lose a little bit of time now. As you can see, Leclerc kind of extended the gap a little bit since we had to stomp so hard on the brakes. But yeah, DRS is still enabled at this point, and Hamilton is 4.3 seconds behind right now, and I thought it should be pretty easy to kind of stay out in front of him. But once the rain starts getting a little bit heavier, and then once you clear the back markers and Charles Leclerc, then Hamilton just, I don't know what happens. He just becomes like a rocket ship and closes that gap up right away. So right now most of the back markers are out of our way. I think Albon was the last one for now, and then it's just Leclerc and the 2 Red Bulls ahead of us. But like I said, I don't know if it came up yet, but you can see Leclerc is really, really slow here. He always gets some sort of car issue along with signs. So don't feel like you need to rush to get out in front of these guys. Just take it nice and slow, especially if you are still behind them in the wet here. Don't take any risks, just because this one's kind of annoying to restart and play over and over again, just because the wet starts about 4 laps after you start. So yeah, it was really annoying for me. I didn't have any issues with the dry, but once it started raining, and you can't go on to inters or else you're going to lose this race. The Red Bulls ahead don't pit for inters, and Hamilton doesn't pit for inters. So everybody stays on the hard compound tires until the end, even after DRS is disabled. So at this point, we get out in front of Leclerc, and since he has the car issues, he's not going to be able to make it back out in front of us. So I'm just going to skip it ahead to when Hamilton catches up. Okay, so we skipped ahead not even 2 laps, and the last time we saw Hamilton, he was still like 3.5 seconds, or more than 3.5 seconds behind us. But within the span of not even 2 laps, he's already closed that gap down to 1.1. I think at this point DRS has already been disabled. Yeah, DRS has already been disabled, because I think it was disabled at the start of lap 49 or something like that. But yeah, we do have a little bit of straight line speed on Hamilton, but once we start going into the corners here, I just could not stay with him. And this is on 12.8 wings, so if you're going to stick with the time trial setup with the 5.2 wings, this is going to be... 5.2 wings was really difficult for me, so that's why I decided to up the wings. I would recommend raising the wings a little bit, just because it's so easy to catch up to the Ferraris that you don't really need too much straight line speed anyway. Look at that, Leclerc's already dropped back to over 4 seconds behind us, so it's not too difficult to get out in front of him. Eventually you'll be able to do that anyway. So like I said at the start of the video, Hamilton here is the biggest threat And even though there isn't any spray or puddles on the track, it is really, really greasy by this point. Having to take corners like one gear lower than I normally do. I usually take the castle section here in fourth, but just could not get any traction down in the corners before it, and so couldn't get any traction on that straight leading up to it. So having to take it in third, just could not get any traction down. And I guess you could up the differential, but I prefer to keep it at 55. I just don't like to mess with that stuff too much anyway. And I think most wet setups keep the differential pretty low, so I didn't bother with that too much. But yeah, 12.8 wings on the world record setup at Azerbaijan was pretty comfortable for me. And you can see here Hamilton really closing up on us. Thank God the DRS was disabled, because he probably would have gotten out in front of us, and I wouldn't have had a chance getting back out in front of him. Throwing on a little bit of overtake here. I managed to save a lot of my battery, so that's good. And it's also wet, so you're going to be saving a whole bunch of battery. So we defended on the penultimate lap there. Ooh, getting a bit of oversteer. He's on the inside now. Didn't want to make any contact there with him, but luckily for us, he doesn't understeer into our car. And then defending down this straight here, we do have a bit of straight line speed on him, but I think he's clearly much faster through corners. I don't know if his tires are just fresher, or if he's got more. He must have a higher downforce setup, as he can't keep up on the straights, and he's much quicker than us through the corners here. So I thought I was going to lose the position here, put on a bit of overtake there, got our elbows out, and Hamilton stays behind us. Yeah, I don't know, that was kind of on the limit, but no harm, no foul. I don't think he got any damage on the car anyway. Into the castle section now. I was really, really nervous at this point on the last lap here. I didn't want to screw this up and have to start this all over again. So taking it very slowly and gingerly, and we managed to get through. And look at that, he's right on our wing here. Alright, so yeah, even though we had pretty decent traction out of the castle section, he closes right up again. He must be using his battery. Thought he was going to make a move on the outside there, so I just kind of moved out a little bit to block him from making a dive around the outside there and ending both of our races. But at this point, I figured this was pretty much over, as the previous two laps, I could see that we had the straight line speed on those Hamilton anyway. So yeah, this was probably, I mean, this wasn't like super easy or anything like that, but it wasn't super difficult either. 105 AI difficulty. Haven't played the game in like 3 weeks. Seriously, haven't seriously played the game in like 3 weeks, so wasn't too difficult. I feel like the first AlphaTauri challenge at Azerbaijan was much harder in the dry. I think it was an AlphaTauri at Azerbaijan. I can't remember. There was another weekly or featured event at Azerbaijan, and it was much tougher than this one, I think. But yeah, there you go, guys. Not super difficult. Just wanted to put this up here just because I haven't put out an F122 video in quite a bit. I think this was good enough for P22, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you can take away one or two things from my video that will help you with your runs. If you think I've earned it, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. Remember to eat your bok choy. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll just keep this going to let you see the ranks at the end, but I'll see you guys in the next video.